Hello and welcome to Free Inquiry, a new project of the Institute for Faith and Freedom, dedicated to promoting the critical engagement with the marketplace of ideas right here on Grove City's campus. I'm Bray Sadler, a research fellow here at the Institute. During Fall Fest, we had the privilege of talking to students about their views around free speech. In this video, we're going to respond to the top concerns of students around free expression by covering three themes. First, we're going to discuss how free speech makes America unique. Second, we're going to talk about how free speech is essentially a Christian idea. And last, we're going to discuss how free speech is a form of humility. What does free speech mean to you?
Free speech means to me that no matter your political affiliation, ideals, or whatever you believe, even if you're like a Pastafarian or whatever, that you're able to express those views without political repercussions, because this is America and this is a place where everybody, regardless of religion, race, or creed, can come and live and be able to express their ideas and live full and happy lives.
Free speech makes America unique because the United States is one of the few countries in the world that absolutely protects free speech. Other countries in the West, like the United Kingdom, do include protections for free expression. In fact, even the Soviet Union protected free speech. However, these countries provide caveats. In the UK, your speech is allowed as long as it's appropriate for a democratic society. And in the Soviet Union, you could express yourself as much as you wanted, as long as your ideas were in the general interest of the working class. However, the United States is one of the only countries where Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, absolutely without exception. Free speech is an essentially Christian idea because it originated when Christians came to the intersection of faith and freedom. Free speech originated in the Protestant Reformation during the European Wars of Religion. After 1517, Christendom, the civilization that had been kept together by the Catholic Church, was divided into many new, different theological traditions. Originally, people decided to use violence to suppress others who thought differently than them. However, after a century of violence, people realized that they need to learn to coexist. Enter John Milton, one of the most influential English poets and author of the epic poem Paradise Lost. In 1644, in the middle of the English Civil War, he published his Areopagitica, one of the first works in the English language defending freedom of speech. Milton made two main arguments. First, that truth comes about when in the confrontation with error, and second, that since as humans we are made in the image of God, we have the right to choose between good and evil, even in the realm of ideas. Milton was followed nearly 40 years later by the influential philosopher John Locke, who had an enormous influence on the Founding Fathers. Locke, in his letter concerning toleration, advocated for freedom of religion and freedom of speech from a biblical and natural law point of view. Both Locke and Milton limited their justifications of free speech to Protestants, and Locke excluded atheists and Catholics, but their ideas would eventually grow to encompass everyone. These ideas in England were mirrored in the United States. In 1644, William Rogers, the founder of Rhode Island, wrote his A Plea for Religious Liberty, where he advocated for religious liberty for everyone based on biblical principles. This was followed in 1654 by the Maryland Act of Toleration, which allowed for religious liberty and religious expression among all Christians. However, non-Christians were excluded. Almost a century later, in 1776, when founding fathers like James Madison and Thomas Jefferson ratified the Virginia Declaration of Rights, which included protections for both freedom of religion and freedom of speech. This was followed in 1791 by the First Amendment, which provides the framework that we have today. At each step in the history of the idea of free speech, Christians wrestle with their faith, making free speech an essentially Christian idea.
I think free speech to me is just kind of the ability to kind of say and think and have ideas that, may be unpopular, they may be, controversial, but, you're not going to be punished for saying and speaking what you believe. Not only is the words you actually speak, but it's also being able to have ideas and have, controversial topics that may not be, in line with what the mainstream thinks.
Last, free speech is an expression of humility. One aspect of humility is recognizing that no one is infallible. Instead, knowledge of the truth is decentralized among everyone. Each person has a unique perspective that has something to contribute. Therefore, the only way for everyone to come closer to the truth is through the free exchange of ideas, even if people are wrong about a lot of things. This attitude is summarized in Jordan B. Peterson's 9th rule for life. Assume the person you're listening to knows something you don't. Freedom of speech is an expression of the Christian virtue of humility. In this video, we discussed 3 themes of free speech. First, it makes America unique. Second, free speech is an essentially Christian idea. And last, free speech is an expression of humility. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to receive future Institute for Faith and Freedom and Free Inquiry content. Make sure to leave your feedback in the comments below. Have a great day.